Welcome back to my vlog. Today we'll be discussing 5 bad habits of depression and tactics to combat them. Dealing with depression requires action, but taking that action when you're depressed can be very hard. Sometimes just thinking about what you should do to feel better, such as exercising, spending time with friends and or family, can be in itself exhausting or nigh impossible to do. It's a catch-22 of recovery. The things that most often help are the most difficult to do while you're in a depressive valley. The big difference between something that is difficult and there's a big difference between something that is impossible and something that is difficult. One may not have enough energy to take a walk or even pick up the phone, call a loved one, or even a hotline. So, number one bad habit is not having a healthy routine. When depression hits people, they can get into poor sleep patterns, poor eating habits, staying up late, sleeping all day, eating fast food, junk food, just unhealthy food for you. One of the first tactics to combating is try to get back into a healthy sleep pattern by going to bed at a quote-unquote reasonable time. Shut off all electronic devices. Yes, that means your phone, tablet, etc. Shutting the curtains, turning off all lights. Don't drink caffeinated beverages. About 2 hours of bedtime. And stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. Another way is try to eat as healthy as you can. Yes, I know. Eating healthy is unfortunately more expensive than eating unhealthily. Eat regular meals at a standard time. Try to avoid fast food and junk food as much as you can. Number 2, drinking too much alcohol. For some people, alcohol can be a problem. One may drink more than usual. One may drink as a way of numbing or hiding one's problems or just to fill time. The first tactic to develop to combat that. Alcohol can and most likely will either worsen depression or keep it going. It is best to avoid it in its entirety. That's just my opinion, and I'm sure it's opinions of many others. Another way is, if you still want to drink, set a limit and stick to it, such as I'm only going to drink 2 beers, 1 mixed drink, so on and so forth. For instance, if you are at a bar, ask the bartender to cut you off at, say, 3 beers. Cut me off, don't allow me to get any more. And if they won't do that, then only take in as much as money as you need to buy those 3 beers or whatever it is. So if they have $5 a piece, bring in $15 plus $3 to $5 for the tips. That's it. Don't bring in your credit cards, don't bring in debit cards, any other form of payment. Number 3 is focus on what you are doing right. Or what you are not doing right. That's a bad habit. As rough as your life is right now, you haven't fallen off the edge, and this is not just by chance. The key is to remember that we humans are extremely resilient and capable. Because depression can and will cloud your judgment. It can be tempting to overemphasize the negative aspects of situations while discounting the positives. One tactic to combat that is, at the end of the day, write down 3 things you did well. Don't overthink this. No act of taking the high road is too small. For example, when my coworker emailed a budget proposal he forgot to cite a source. Rather than get upset, I spent 2 minutes researching the answer and added the info myself. Number 4, beware of rumination. The word rumination comes from the Latin meaning to chewing the cud. In the human realm, ruminators analyze an issue at length. Many ruminators remain in a depressive rut because their negative outlook hinders their problem solving. First tactic to combat that is remind yourself that this behavior does not increase psychological insight into the issues you're facing. Number 2, take small actions leading toward problem solving. Instead of looking at the big picture, look at the tiny little pieces that make the big picture. Imagine like a mosaic, which is a big picture made of all of these tiny little pieces, pictures and whatnot. Take each one of those pieces by themselves and put them out. Solve those problems. Solve problem A, B, and C, and so on and so forth. Then by the time you're done with that, you have solved the problem. C, reframe negative perceptions of events and high expectations of others. Number 4, let go of unhealthy or unattainable goals and develop multiple sources of social support, which is friends, family, co-workers, therapists, etc. And the 5th and last bad habit for this list is critical self-destructive thoughts. This is one I personally combat on a daily basis, and it is one of the hardest ones I've dealt with. And I still deal with it. It gets a little easier as time goes by, but it's still very difficult. Depression is often accompanied by a critical self-destructive mentality that interferes and distracts us from our daily lives. When depressed people tend to accept this negative identity as a true representation of who they are. It is helpful to think of these thoughts as being the parasites that keep you in bed when you are sick. They may tell you not to pursue your goals, to isolate yourself, to forgo an activity that you enjoy. Listening to that voice gives it even more power over you. The first tactic to combat it is instead, when you notice these thoughts and attitudes start to intensify and take precedence over your more realistic, positive ways of thinking, it is essential to identify them as parasitic in nature. The second one is ask yourself, would you think such cruel thoughts of a friend or family member who is experiencing the same struggles? By having compassion for yourself and recognize this inner voice as a destructive enemy, you can begin to see who you are more clearly and realistically. That's 5 bad habits I'm covering today. If you know someone or you yourself are suffering from depression, seek help, even if it's just a friend or family member, to talk it through. And if it worsens or you see someone going through it, one of the worst things in my experience that you can say to someone that's suffering from depression is just get over it. Be happy. Because it's not that easy for people that suffer from depression. I will include a link to a hotline for depression, for people who are going through depression, and a hotline for the suicide hotline. National Hotline. Thank you, and may y'all have a great day. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click the bell so you be alerted to my next upload.